Hello, I'm Dr. Mikey Mewborn, and this is Leadership Development. Today we're looking at the topic, create community. Now you will find out in this lesson that the number one way to create community, no matter where you are, if you're in a church, nonprofit organization, or if you are a part of a for-profit organization, the number one way is to create a great team. Surround yourself with great people, help them succeed, and in that, you'll also succeed. But the way to do that is to put some certain or specific things into place so that everyone can grow together and everyone can succeed together. So we're going to be talking about that today. It's good to be with you. Let's begin our study. Hello and welcome to Leadership Development. Today we're looking at create community. It's good to be with you. Let's begin our study. I want to start by simply saying the phrase, develop great teams. If you want to create a community that's thriving, you're going to have great leadership or great teams involved in that process. Teams need principles to follow in order to be effective. Now, if you can think about it, for a church, you need an elder board. It needs to be a group of people who are overseeing some things. So not all churches would say that they have elders, but all churches do have elders in this sense that elders are pastors. The Bible is very clear in 1 Timothy chapter 3, also in Titus chapter 1, that an elder is someone who is going to lead the church, is going to teach the church. And that's also what we call as a pastor teacher. Sometimes they're called bishops. So there's different names. An overseer would be another name. And so there's different names to express who they are. But those people need to be a group of people on the same page if you're wanting to build great community. If you have an elder group or group of pastors that's on different pages, you're not going to have a strong community. Personnel committees. It's always important within a church, of course, to have different groups that understand the way the church is run and how it actually functions. So that's another way to look at it. Missions committee. How is the church doing missions in the community? If you want to create great community in a church, you're going to have a strong missions community because they're going to be the ones who do missions within in the area, and possibly overseas as well. But missions committee, and you can use different names for that, but that's a good way to look at it. Another person or group of people that would be important is an academic council. If you're looking into more of the academic world, academic scene, that would be important to have a group of people who have the same mindset on the same page, making decisions for the best of the organization. And so an academic council would do that. And then like a camp staff would be another group of people, another example of that. So you've got boards, you've got committees, you've got councils, you've got staffs. All these people could be used in a great way to help build community. Here's just a picture there of an academic council, people coming together to say, hey, we're doing what we're doing to offer a great education here at this institution. And so that's one way of looking at that. So develop great teams. Now, effective teams understand team goals, and that's important for us. I'm going to give you some points here that what is an effective team all about and how do they do it? So effective teams understand team goals. Effective teams utilize group decision making. Effective teams share leadership responsibility. Effective teams maintain good communication. That's always what we'd say is open communication. People can talk across the table, but not just that. They can communicate through different layers within an organization. That's very effective. Effective teams evaluate process as well as product. So it's not just how many items have you sold, because that's what we look at sometimes. How good is the product? How good are the numbers? What's the bottom line? Well, the bottom line does not always give you what's going on behind the scenes. I think one of the great illustrations of this, a group that has great community, may be a football team. The scoreboard might not show how really good they are as a group of people. The community, they may be really good in the community. They may be really good for building camaraderie. It might be a great football program for building leaders. They might be a great football program for putting people maybe into college sports or maybe into the NFL. But they don't win, or they didn't win a lot of games that season. So you can't just look at the scoreboard and say, okay, they're terrible. No, because what if behind the scenes, it's a great community of athletes? What if behind the scenes, they're doing all the right things? They're developing people and not just points on the board. Now, I believe that points on the board are going to come, but I think also that the process has to be evaluated as well. And that's an important thing to look at. Effective teams accomplish more together. And I like that picture there. It's all the people coming together, bringing their pieces, and it's making up team. That's what it's actually doing. And you're really, you're going to be evaluated by the world based on how good your team is, because what the team can do as one is going to say a lot more than what you can just do as an individual. And so that's important. One of the things that's interesting about these pictures I'm showing you right now is the idea of a water ski show team. That might seem odd to a lot of you, but just a little glimpse into my life when I was in college, my early years in college. I was part of a water ski show team, just like these guys, jumping ramps, barefoot skiing, building pyramids, all that type of thing. Growing up in Tampa, Florida, we had the Tampa Bay Water Ski Show team, and so you could try out for this team, get out there and water ski with them. They taught you how to do everything. So they taught you how to jump the ramps and barefoot and ski with people on your shoulders and have people stand up. And so what I noticed about being on that team is that everyone had to work together. If every person worked together and did their task well, their responsibility, you could win. You could travel around the world with a team like this, and you could win, and you'd be posted in these ski magazines, and you'd be noticed for your abilities on the water. So it was really cool. But I also noticed that when one person is out of place, or one person's not strong enough, or one person's not good enough at their task or their ability, it made the whole team suffer. And my first time under the pyramid with all these people standing on top of me, just kind of something I'll never forget. I told them I wanted to be at the bottom of the pyramid, and I wanted to see what that felt like with all the people. And they said, "You're not strong enough." Now I was working out all the time. I was a strong, let's say 19-year-old, 20-year-old. They said, "You're not strong enough." Well, I ended up doing it anyways. And I almost fell down with everyone on top of me because the weight was so heavy. It was crazy. And so I ended up that day pulling away from the pyramid, or at least from the middle of the pyramid where everybody's standing on top of you. And I moved to the side, and I said, I've got to get some strength before I get up under the middle of this thing, because it's so heavy underneath. My knees were shaking. I was about to collapse. And so what they do is they put me on the side, and I grew and was strengthened and all that kind of thing. And then I was able to do it. But the idea there is that I couldn't be the weakest link on that. So what I need to do is pull away to another area where there's a lot of strength. But just kind of a different kind of sport there. You know, we can always use basketball. We can always use football or softball or baseball, soccer, different things like that. But this was a unique sport that I was involved with for a while that really helped me see the importance of team. So I wanted to show you that. All right. As we continue on, team members must be taught. They must learn what to do to be on the same page. Let me just give you a passage here that's so clear on this instruction. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. Now, this is Jesus telling the disciples who he's been meeting with for 3 years. Here he is telling them, I'm going away, but you're going to be me. You're going to be filled with me, filled with the Spirit of God. The Holy Spirit's going to come upon you, all those things, and you're going to go forth and you are going to make disciples. They are disciples of Christ, but you're going to go out and make them. You're going to baptize them. You're going to teach them. And he said something important in verse 20, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. So he's given them the instructions. Now they are taking those instructions and giving them. So they know what to do. Now it's on them whether they do it. And he showed them in John chapter 13, how do you love people? You go and you care for them. You do what you need to do. Sometimes the job is not easy. Sometimes the job is dirty. Sometimes the job is going to make you become a servant to all. And that's what he shows them in John 13. But If you do that, you are truly my disciples, and people will know that you are my disciples. Now, when we think about this whole idea of developing great teams, there are some ways to do that. Teach effective leadership, build team unity, make use of team abilities, practice mutual submission. I think that's an interesting one because it's this idea that everyone can learn from everyone. Don't just think that you're the only one who can teach everybody else. I've tried to be very careful about this in the fields that really God has taken me, and whether it's in the pastoral realm, preaching and teaching, or pastoral ministry, or if it's in the academic world, I always want to show people that I'm willing to come under them and to serve them. And Jesus makes it very clear we need to be careful to serve other people. We need to be quick to serve other people, to come under them and do whatever's needed. Teach people to follow creatively. So one of the great ways to build a good community or a strong community is to teach people to follow creatively. What that means is that I'm going to find new ways to come alongside or serve or be a part of something with somebody. And I'm going to create the new ways. Maybe it's not normal for the organization, but maybe it's helpful to the organization. And if you can make a case for it and you can give evidence of why it should work, why not try it? So be creative about those types of things. Develop great teams is the idea of selection of servants, trying to work through this idea of who's going to serve where. The Church of Antioch, it actually did these types of things in Acts chapter 11, and then we see in Acts 13 sending of first missionaries, the council at Jerusalem. And when we look at these different meetings or these times of selection, we clearly see that the church was coming together. They were on the same page. They were choosing leadership that was on the same page, and they were sending them out. They were commissioning them for the task at hand. And so what you have there is you have missionaries as well as a sending group of people, like a sending church. This is a very healthy way to create community in a church. And it's the idea of sending out other people. Now, just kind of looking at a couple more things. Next, participatory leadership. I want you to see that Jesus never coerced morality. Think about that for just a moment. He never coerced it. He never forced people to do that. Humans are free moral agents. He instructs, he commands, but he never coerces and makes people do things. Spiritual leaders should not force or coerce people to behave in certain ways. Quote here, liberty is the right to choose. Freedom is the result of the right choice. This is helpful for us because when we're thinking about having a great community, it's not going to be built on coercion. It's going to be built on freedom. It's going to be built on choices and letting people see that what you're trying to accomplish is really a good thing, not just for an individual, but for a community, and striving to do what is right and all those things. Now, when we think also about creating community, we can look at effective leadership. Leaders challenge the process. Leaders inspire a shared vision. Leaders enable others to act. Leaders model the way. Leaders encourage the heart. And we've seen things like this before because these are common phrases within leadership development. And I like what John Maxwell has to say here. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So if we're going to have a great community, you got to have the person, you got to have people that are showing the way and demonstrating that. Next is celebrative leadership. Certain events, certain promotions, certain milestones, certain accomplishments. We need to celebrate these types of things. And for the last few lessons, we have really honed in on this. We need to recognize people for what they do, their efforts and their accomplishments. We need to do that and do it well. Celebrate the success of others. High tide floats all ships. I love that quote. Something worth memorizing. And then I like the idea of vulnerable leadership. A pastor or leader of an organization should be willing to apologize when he or she has made a mistake. You want to build great community? Be transparent. Be vulnerable. That's going to help. Unwilling to do so will worsen the problem and often bring humiliation and shame to all parties. Here's a name tag for you. Hello, I'm sorry. We need to be able to say that at certain times. When we've wronged people, when we've hurt people, we need to be able to be honest with them. We need to be transparent. We need to be vulnerable. And then communicative leadership. I'll give you some points here. Developmental, educational, supportive, clear communication, and trustworthy. We need to communicate with other people and do it well. It's going to help us in every single way. This is a great little slide here. And that is why we lift on 3. Well, you can see here they've dropped the person that they're operating on, and that is not good. We need better communication. And so it needs to be clear, it needs to be supportive, it needs to help people, educate them, help develop them, and of course, it needs to be trustworthy. Well, this is the way that we build great community. It's so good to be with you today. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, that concludes our study today about create community. As you can see, it's important for us to create a great team if we really hope to have great community. And so whether we're part of a church, whether we're working for a for-profit organization, whatever it might be, we need to make sure that we are putting to practice a lot of the things mentioned in this video, because this will help us succeed in all the things that we're hoping to do and accomplish. All right, it's good to be with you today. God bless you. Bye-bye.